Yo, what's poppin', my people? It's your boy Crookster Great back at you guys with another banger of a UFC 5 video. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down a video that was posted by one of my really good friends, Prioxis, in Is UFC 5 Really a New Game? Let's talk about it. And I wanted to cover this video because I feel like this is a very hot topic in the UFC community. Is UFC 5 really new? Is it UFC 4 just reincarnated? And I feel like in this video, he touches on quite a bit of things that I hear a lot of people posting in comments on UFC 5 videos. So I wanted to break it down. And before we even get this video started, in terms of watching the video, shout out to Prioxis. He's a really, really good friend of mine. If you guys aren't subbed up to his channel, he's one of the best content creators in the UFC community. Hands down, man. The guy has over 100,000 subs on YouTube. Makes really, really good and funny content as well on his channel. So make sure, if you guys aren't subbed up to his channel, to sub up to his channel. I'm going to leave the link to his channel in the description of this video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get it started.
Oh boy, we about to ruffle some feathers with this one. Whether
Yo,
you like it or not, I'ma say it.
I fuck with the full Brazilian fit he got right here. He got the Brazil hat and the RDA shirt on. All right, brother. All right, I see it.
One thing about me is I'ma say how I feel because nobody can stop me from expressing how I feel. Whether you like it or not is on you. But if you sit here and watch it and you don't like it, I really don't know what to tell you, bro. But let's talk about it, man.
Which is true. Before we even get started, it's okay to have difference in opinion. Damn, I don't know what the hell I was just trying to say, but yeah, a difference in opinion is always all right. It's all right to not have the same opinion as everybody else. So I feel like that's a very big thing in the community. People want your opinion to be in line with their opinion. So if it's not, they kind of tend to get pissed off, and that shit ain't cool, bro. It's okay. So before we even get this video, or as we're watching this video, I'm not gonna knock Pry whether I agree with them or I don't. It's okay to have a difference in opinion, which is correct.
And let me say this, first things first. EA Sports UFC 5, will Prioxis be playing it? I don't know, bro. Is a pig's pussy pork? When you answer that question, you know what I'm saying? You answered your own question.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to answer to that one.
That doesn't take away the fact that I can give my opinion or critique the game based off what I've seen. The UFC community has grown accustomed to being bent over and rammed when it comes to the games, and they just accept it, right? They'll just say, Pry, you're going to play it anyways. Why are you complaining?
Lightweight, this is true. This is true. I mean, but this is true with any game. You know what I mean? You're going to take the game as is, or you're just not going to play it. So, although people would be like, oh, you know, Crook's probably going to disagree with that. I don't. We have had to play some shit games. I'm not going to lie. For all of you guys that think that, you know, me have been calling me a shill or whatever the hell you guys have been calling me in the comments of my videos, saying I'm an EA game changer, or I want to be Marshall Mine and all this stuff. I've had some very, very negative things to say about UFC 4 if you just go back and rewatch my videos or have watched my streams. I've been very critical of UFC 4. So I haven't agreed with every single thing EA has come out and done, especially. So what he's saying right there is true. We have had to take a lot of shit.
You're going to play it anyways. Why are you complaining? Yeah, you're going to go to work tomorrow anyways. Why are you complaining? But you still complain about work, right? You still complain about being tired, right?
I fuck with that.
Why are you complaining?
That's a good illustration.
Different situation.
Good comparison.
Same thing, though, right? So, the thing in the UFC, the thing that I've seen with UFC 5 going around the community is it isn't UFC 5. And I'm basing all this not off of the beta. I'm basing this off of what we've seen so far. And I'm not the person to be a negative Nancy. I've said positive things. You know what I'm saying? If you go watch my deep dive, I've said things I think should be added or my opinion on things. But is UFC 5 a new game? Ask yourself, before you answer that question, listen, hear me out. Is it technically a new game? Yes, because it's not UFC 4, it's 5, technically. But based on what we're given, is it a new game? Remember, This is 3 years of development. Now, I'll more so say 2 because I'm pretty sure UFC 5 may have not been getting worked on 1 year in development. So we'll give it 2 years, right?
Okay, so that is a very good point that he started off with, straight off the rip. Although it's been 3 years since we've had a new UFC game, they're not working on UFC 3 right as soon as UFC, or not UFC 3, it's UFC 5, right after UFC 4 drops. They have a life cycle, it's called a lifespan of a game. And generally, around a year to a year and a half, EA Sports will stop making adjustments to the game, and then they'll start to get prepared and ready to start looking into what they're going to put in their next installment of the series. So with UFC 4, when UFC 4 dropped, I believe it was between a year to a year and a half, and then we stopped getting the really big gameplay updates and stuff like that, and they started to gear up for UFC 5. So what he says right here is actually correct. It's about 2 years that they had to really work on this game. So for those of you guys that are being like, oh, well, it's been 3 years, really, it's only been 2 years in all actuality.
New engine, Frostbite engine. Now, granted, the Frostbite engine isn't a new engine. It's just them changing over from that other engine they were using to Frostbite.
Yeah, that's true.
But my question to you is, what makes UFC 5 new? That's my question. For anyone that says UFC 5 is new based on what we've seen, what makes it new?
I never get into the nitty gritty.
Legit question. Now let's break this down. Let's break it down. And
Okay.
I'll give you guys an example of a story, more so to say. So we look at things like the Clinch and what we've seen, comparing it to UFC 4. What's new? What's a drastic change that would be like, oh, that's new?
Now, this is something that you guys, this is kind of funny. I didn't mean to stop it right here, Pry. So if you're watching the video, I didn't mean to do that to you, brother. But this is something that you guys have heard me say on my videos as well. They didn't really show anything that's new with the Clinch. So during the UFC 5 beta and once the UFC 5 game is released, I wanted to see what's new in the Clinch. Is it the same? I mean, I know they have talked about different ways to now evade the clinch or straight strike stopping the clinch and stuff like that. But once you do get put into the clinch, is there any new mechanics that they've added into it? So that's something that I myself have talked about as well. So that's a very, very good concern that Prioxis actually really brought out right here.
Didn't see much. We look at the striking. What is a drastic change we've seen with striking? A couple animations, 3 years, and a couple animations. You okay with that? That's an update. Now, granted, they add these new features like the real damage and stuff like that with the head health and with the submissions causing damage. I mean, submissions have always caused damage to your leg or your, I believe so. Maybe not your arms, but your leg took damage when you're in a submission. But we're on striking, right? We're on striking. So keep up with me. So what about the striking is like, oh, that's new. I never seen that before. Like, it just blew you away. Button layout.
Okay, so now he gets into what a lot of people in the community have been saying. What's different about the striking? He kind of pointed everything out he pointed 2 things out specifically that are very, very big things in the striking. Number 1 is the damage system. Well, I don't want to get into the damage system quite yet. We'll get in that in my very next point. The fluidity and just the movement in UFC 5 is going to be different. If you watch the video that I posted up yesterday of the gameplay clip that Marshall Mind put up on his video or on his Twitter, you could see Robert Whittaker is a lot slower. He's not as quick. Izzy's is gonna be faster because he does in real life have faster footwork than Robert Whittaker. But Robert Whittaker isn't nearly as fast. The fluidity on a lot of the strikes seems to be realistic in the sense of you're not being able to just cover as much distance as you would in UFC 4 from what I've seen so far, excluding the beta, obviously. Just what I've seen from the gameplay, the deep gameplay dive that Martial Mind did, the trailer release, and different stuff like that. You can see a difference in the striking. That's the number one. Number two, the damage system plays a really big part into the striking game in UFC 5 because the damage is really going to change the way that people approach striking. If you're going to be a brawler like you were in UFC 4, somebody that just is in your face and all that stuff, and somebody knows what they're doing, they're going to be able to evade you a lot more efficiently than what they were in UFC 4, as well as if you get damaged enough, the doctor is going to stop you. They are going to stop you. So that is going to play a really big part, as well as damage also affects now your long-term stamina, your short-term stamina, how much you recover, as well as obviously the doctor stoppage. So that's going to play a really big part into how people are approaching the striking aspect of the game. So I feel like not a lot of people are really putting enough, are really understanding how big of a difference or how big of a factor the damage system is going to play in striking in UFC 5. And then he talked about right here the submission system. The submission system affecting limbs and your blocking ability with those limbs, your long-term block health with those limbs, isn't really a big thing in UFC 4. It isn't. It really isn't. If you get somebody in an armbar, it'll, if at all, it very minimally affects their block health. But in UFC 5, it seems like it's going to take it's going to play a bigger factor in your long-term block health. So that in itself is new. So he really broke down 2 really big changes, 3 really big changes if you include the striking animations, as to why UFC 5 is different from UFC 4. So let's keep it going though.
What is it? What is it? Like a legit question. What about the striking has changed a drastic amount? Now they've added things. They're going to update things. Right? They're going to change stuff like as far as how much the jab does to the block, the stamina changes, the difference in speed with fighters with the footwork. But that doesn't
points that I just made
change how it looks. Like that doesn't change the animation. Where was the new animation on the walks? Like on the movement?
Now, this is a very good point. This is a good point because this is factual. This is facts. There wasn't a lot of new animations added in, at least from what I've seen so far in the gameplay. It doesn't look like there's a lot of new added animations in the game. But in all honesty, there's not really a lot of bad animations in UFC 4. I mean, the tracking can be absolutely trash, but animation-wise, things don't look that bad, to be honest with you. But I do get it. There's not a lot of new animations, and for some people, the aesthetics of throwing a punch and all this, that I could see. And one thing that I do agree with the community on is maybe for you going forward, they can try to make fighters' footwork and their animations look more realistic to an individual fighter. That going forward, I do agree with, but and I do agree with the point that there's not a lot of new animations in the game. So aesthetically, it's going to look similar to UFC 4. So that is a factual statement in my book.
That's what I'm saying. Slowing it down and speeding it up is an update. Completely changing it tells me something else.
I don't necessarily agree with it there. The way that UFC 5 is shaping out to be, it's not just an update. Graphically, it's not an update. UFC 4 would have never been able to achieve what UFC 5 is going to achieve just from the simple aspect, it's on a new engine. The Frostbite engine is different from the engine that we have on UFC 4. So it's just different. It's never going to be an update.
Now, let's go to the clinch.
All right, here we go.
We didn't really see much with the clinch of what they said. They more so talked about the ways you can get out of the clinch or avoid the clinch with jab and a cross. So because they said that, by default, I got to assume nothing is new, because if there something was just drastically new about the clinch, they would have said something about it. They would have definitely said something about it.
I agree.
Like the next thing that we're going to talk about with the seamless seamless submissions. They're consistently throwing seamless submissions out there, promoting it because it's new.
I agree with that 100%. Like I said in my previous statement before the striking, they really didn't release a lot of stuff on the clinch. So it's a little bit worrying because there was a lot of issues with the clinch in itself when you did get put into it. So I mean that's still to be seen with UFC 5's release. So I really do agree with that sentiment that he's putting down. You know, they haven't really talked too much about the clinch, and that could be troublesome heading into UFC 5.
Right? So if the clinch didn't change much, the striking didn't change much. Right? Let's go to the ground game. Now, they say with the submissions they're seamless, and that is new. And that's why I can give them their credit. They gave us a new submission system. And that's good. I like that.
We all do.
But
we all do. I feel like.
What makes this a new game? That's my question. The fighter HUD while you're in the match is the same. Now, this is just me nitpicking. Understand that. But if you're going to pay $100 or $70, I think you can nitpick. It's your money.
Now let me stop right there. The HUD is not, although it's the same HUD. I agree with this to an extent, right? So the HUD is the same, but the transitions and the way that the ground game is played is different. Obviously, there's going to be new positions on the ground that weren't in UFC 4, so not everything is the same. The animations, the transitions from when you get into submission systems into the submissions is different, right? So that's not totally accurate, but it's accurate, I would say, about 60 to 70%. But what I didn't understand is how he said seamless submissions are new and we like it, but what's different? That doesn't go hand in hand. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're asking what's new in the game after pointing out something that's new. So, you know, that's kind of where our opinions and our views kind of just go awry, right? We go separate ways because he just pointed out something that was new with the game and then asked what's new about the game. And what he said right here, too, about nitpicking and stuff, hell yeah. Hell yeah. You paying $100 for the deluxe edition of UFC 5? Nitpick your ass off. You feel me? That's why I don't knock anybody on things that they want that's different in the game. I just try to point out, hey, you know what? This is the positive that you take in the game, and this is kind of what's new and what's. Like I said before the video started, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. So yeah, nitpick at the game. If you're paying $70 for UFC 5 or $100, nitpick about the game. It's your money. You're spending it. As well as that also gives the devs things to work on. It gives devs things to change in the game. It's how communities stay alive. It's how games continue to advance as they go along in series. You know what I mean? So I really do agree with that point that he said. You can nitpick. It's your money.
Right? So what's new? That's my question. What is new? It can feel different because of the changes that they made, but those changes I feel could have been a simple update, which makes me look at it as UFC 4.5 because it's just an update. Just like Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 is basically an update. Right? Now, the game may feel a bit different. I will give them that. It probably will feel a bit different due to it's on a new engine. One, two, it's only on the next gen console, so it's going to be better performance. I can give them that. Now here's my little
Now there's a different there's a thing right there too. That's difference. That's a difference. It's only going to be running at 60 FPS. So for those of you guys that were playing it on a regular PS4, that 30 frames is really going to make a difference. You're going to see how responsive UFC 5 really is when it runs at 60 FPS. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's new. It's going to feel different. That is a really big difference in gameplay. For those of us that have moved, and I could tell you personally from my own experience, going from a UFC 4 on the regular PlayStation to UFC 4 on the PS Pro, the PS4 Pro, very big difference. From the PS4 Pro to the PlayStation 5, even though they're both running at 60 FPS, it's a really big difference. And you can go and ask anybody that. GOAT, Mero, anybody you choose. It's a really big difference the way that the gameplay is. So that's a difference in itself.
My little story that I came up with in my head, and I know y'all gonna be like, probably you want some old head time and you just talking, but hear me out.
All right, bet we get it. We listening.
Imagine you're a kid, and some of y'all still are, respectfully. Imagine you're a kid and this brand that you know makes this toy, right? And they consistently making this toy over and over again and giving it to you over to, and you grow tired and old of the toy, and you ask the company, "Hey, can I get a new toy?" Hang up the phone. Sure, we'll give you a new toy. So they say, what are we gonna do? They make a whole new building where they make the toys that you like. That specific toy that you like, right? They make a whole new building, aka a whole new engine that they're building the game off of. They're building the toy off of.
Okay.
Now they make the toy, but they make the same toy, right? Hear me out. They make the same exact toy, and the differences they do is they change the costume and they add maybe some cosmetics on that toy. And they ship it out to you. And you look at it. It's the same toy, but they change a little bit of the things they have on them. That's UFC 5. They changed a little bit, but still looks the same. That's where I'm at. Now, I'll get deeper into this when they release the game and we can actually see everything. But that's where I'm at with it. And if you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree, respectfully, let me know. We here to talk, but that's how I look.
I need to stop pausing it right there. The reason why I let it run a little bit longer is because I didn't want to stop on another funny ass. Like I stop it at the funniest moments, man. It's crazy, but the analogy fits the point that he's trying to make. But he's kind of probably at the same time It's not. It's not. I don't feel that analogy fits with the current situation of the game. UFC 5 is different. And he's pointed out how it's different during this whole video. I mean, I feel the analogy is really good. The illustration of it is really good. But it's just more of, it's not the same game. It's different. It's running on 60 FPS. You can see the difference in the striking and the fluidity of the striking just by watching the gameplay trailers. You got seamless submissions. You got a new damage system. You got new ground and pound strikes. I mean, you got elbows. That's new. You got new transitions. You got new positions on the ground. The only thing that they haven't really told us anything about is the clinch. But everything else is new. It's new. Cuts, damage system, ground game, striking game. It's all new. So I don't really understand that. Respectfully. I don't understand that. Everything is new. There is multiple new systems in the game. But we're just gonna sit there and say, "Oh, this isn't a new game. This is UFC 4." Now, I do agree with him that we got to wait until the game is released. In order to really make a fair assessment of UFC 5, you have to see what it's going to be when the game is released. And not just on release day. I would say give it about 6 months. At 6 months after the release, we'll know what the game is. We'll know whether it's good or it's bad. That's where I'll make my assessment. Okay, UFC 5 is really, was it a failure or was it a success? Because that gives the game time to come out, bugs to be found, things to be patched, gameplay to be fixed, things that it gives the devs the time that they need to actually go and do something about the problems that we're going to have in UFC 5. Because every game has problems on release. Every game. 6 months is an adequate enough time to get things done. You feel what I'm saying? Then we can make that assessment. So I agree with here. We have to wait until the game comes out. And I would even give it another 6 months after before you guys really assess what UFC 5 is.
UFC 5 based on what we've seen what EA showed us. That's my TED Talk. See? By the way, I ain't even been putting ads on these videos in like.
But all right, we're gonna stop it right there because he's gonna start talking about ads and stuff. So that was basically the nitty gritty of the video. Now, like I said, I agreed with him on some things about the game. I had a difference in opinions with him on a few things as well. But overall, it's okay to have a difference in opinion. But overall, we're all going to play UFC 5. Well, me and him, at least, are going to play UFC 5. And really, I think UFC 5 is a really interesting game. It's an interesting game because if you've played the beta, you've seen it. But if you haven't, you're going to see. UFC 5 is going to be a really interesting game to deal with once it comes out. Because there is so many different things that are going to be in UFC 5. So let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with what I said? Tell me the things that you've agreed with what I said. Tell me the things that you agreed with what Pry said. Tell me the difference in opinions that you guys have on certain things. I love to hear them. You guys see that I do like most of the comments on the videos when you guys are agreeing or even when you're disagreeing. I still like it. I might not be able to get to every single comment that you guys make because there is so much comments coming on the videos that I'm not able to keep up with them most of the time. But I try to leave a like on them. I try to heart them just so that you guys know that I do read a lot of these comments. So feel free, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about what I said, what you guys think about what Prioxis said, and let me know what you guys think about UFC 5 in general. But that's it for the video, guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to slap that subscribe button as well as slap that like button. Shout out to you guys that made it to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoy MMA gaming content, then this is the channel for you guys. But until the next video, guys, take it easy. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day, afternoon, evening, depending on where you guys are watching this from. And I will see you guys in the next video.